Howdy folks, and welcome to a very quick World of Warships video with the mighty Jingles. In addition to the World of Tanks Random Acts of Violence video that I put up today, a lot of people have also been asking if I can give them some sort of guidance on which of the 3 new premium warships that have been added to the Wargaming Premium Shop they should be spending their money on in the World of Warships closed beta test, or even pre-ordering for when World of Warships goes into open beta. So, in an effort to help you decide where to spend your money wisely, here are my thoughts on the 3 brand new premium ships that have been added to the Wargaming Premium Shop, and those ships are the Tier 5 Soviet Gremyashki class destroyer, the Tier 7 American destroyer, the USS Sims, and the Tier 4 Imperial Japanese Navy light cruiser, the Yubari. Now, this is definitely not a review of all 3 ships. I've only played 1 game in each, but I need to get this information up quick because these ships are only available for a 3-day period, and 1.5 of those days has already gone by, so you need to know what you're going to get for your money as quick as possible. So my initial thoughts on these 3 ships are as follows, starting with the Soviet Tier 5 destroyer, the Gremyashki. This ship will cost you £12.37 or €16.99. For your money you get the ship, you get 1 port slot, and you get 2,900 gold. This is a very fast destroyer. It will do 38 knots. It's one of the fastest ships in the game. It's also very manoeuvrable, which makes it very good for dodging enemy fire, which is an invaluable characteristic in something as fragile as a destroyer. None of these ships have a great amount of health, and none of them have any armour whatsoever. Being able to avoid enemy fire is a very, very useful characteristic to have in a destroyer, and the Gremyashki can definitely do that. It has 2 triple 533mm centerline mounted torpedo launchers. The torpedoes have a range of 8 kilometers, which is pretty good, but they're not that quick. They only have a speed of 55 knots. As far as its gunfire power concerned, it's a mixture of some very, very good news and some very, very bad news. It's equipped with 130mm guns. These are the biggest guns fitted to any destroyer in the game. Even the American and Japanese Tier 10 destroyers still only have 127mm guns. And these 4 single-barreled 130mm guns have a fantastic firing range. It can fire out to a range of 11.9 kilometers, which is a full kilometer further than the American Tier 5 destroyer, the Nicholas, and it's 5 kilometers further than the Japanese Tier 5 destroyer. In point of fact, the Gremyashki can actually outrange the American Tier 10 destroyer, the Gearing, by 800 meters with the firepower from these guns, and they're bigger than the guns on the American Tier 10 destroyer. The downside, however, is the turning time of the gun turrets. It takes 36 seconds for these turrets to rotate 180 degrees. That's just 1.5 seconds faster than the 14-inch gun batteries on the Congo-class battleship. This is a very unusual destroyer because it excels at long-range combat, and it's absolutely hopeless at close-range fighting. It just cannot turn those gun turrets fast enough to be able to point and fire the guns at a target when it's manoeuvring wildly to avoid return fire. Keep this thing at long range. Use it as a sniper. Use those big guns where they do best, at ranges in excess of 8 kilometers, and you probably only really want to be closing to ranges shorter than 8 kilometers in order to fire off the torpedoes, and then get the hell out of there using the excellent speed and maneuverability. Next up, the USS Sims. This is the most expensive of the 3 packages for a Tier 7 American destroyer. It will cost you £18.56 or €25.49. For your money you get the ship, 1 port slot and 3,000 gold. As is fairly typical of American destroyers, its torpedoes are not very good. They only have a range of 5.5 kilometers, but they are very fast. They will do 65 knots, and it can put 8 of them in the water at any given time with its twin centerline mounted quadruple 533mm torpedo launchers. You will be able to spot the Sims coming from a range of 7.6 kilometers away, and when your torpedoes only have a 5.5 kilometer range, that's going to present a couple of tactical issues. But none of this is news to American destroyer captains. You've had to put up with this sort of thing ever since the game went into closed beta. In order to get close enough to fire off these torpedoes without dying, you need a ship that's fast and manoeuvrable, and oh boy, the Sims delivers that, and it delivers that in spades. This is the fastest ship in the game. It will do a top speed of 39 knots. and it is unbelievably manoeuvrable. With an in-game maneuverability rating of 97 out of 100, a full-speed manoeuvring, turning and burning Sims-class destroyer has got to be the most difficult target to hit in all of World of Warships. This ship is absolutely amazing fun to drive. As far as the offensive firepower of this ship is concerned, you can pretty much forget about the torpedoes. They're just an added bonus because the guns on the Sims are nothing short of amazing. I made a big deal about the guns on the Gremyashki, and the guns on the Gremyashki are good, but they're not actually the longest range destroyer guns in the game. The Sims can fire out to a range of 12.9 kilometers. That's absolutely phenomenal for a destroyer. And look at the rate of fire. They may only be 127mm guns, but this thing can spit the shots out at a combined rate of 52.3 shots per minute, which is over half the rate of fire of the American Tier 10 cruiser, the Des Moines, and that thing is an autoloader. But that's not the best thing about the guns. The best thing about the guns is the turning time. Remember the 36-second turning time of the 130mm guns on the Gremyashki? It takes the Sims 5.3 seconds to rotate these guns 180 degrees. No other ship in the game can turn the turrets as quickly as the Sims, and that's a major advantage when you're in a close range brawling dogfight with another destroyer or a light cruiser or a bunch of enemy ships, because while they're all trying to turn their turrets to shoot at you, you're avoiding their return fire, but you are always able to keep your guns pointed at them regardless of the kind of maneuvers that you throw this ship through. If anybody wants to know what driving American destroyers is like in World of Warships, just point them at the premium shop and tell them to buy a Sims, because this is it. This ship eats other destroyers alive. It is quite possibly the most effective destroyer killer in the game, and it can harass battleships at long range like you wouldn't believe, with a withering barrage of high explosive into their superstructure, knocking out gun turrets, setting them on fire, and generally just being the biggest pain in the arse in World of Warships. Finally, we come to the odd one out in the pack. This is the Yubari. Unlike the other two, it's not a Tier 5 destroyer. This is a Tier 4 light cruiser. It will cost you exactly the same as the Gremyashki. For your money, you get the cruiser, you get a port slot, and you get 3,000 gold doubloons for the price of £12.37 or €16.99. As a Japanese cruiser, the Yubari is of course armed with torpedoes. The torpedoes only have a range of 6 kilometers, but they are quick. They'll travel through the water at speeds of 63 knots. It takes just over a minute to reload the torpedo tubes, but they do have a very narrow firing arc. Anything that you hit with these 610mm torpedoes is going to be in a world of hurt, because the torpedoes will do 14,600 damage each. However, the Achilles heel of the Yubari is the very narrow and limited firing arc of these torpedo launchers. The guns on the Yubari are, well, they're nothing special, but they're not bad either. It has 4 140mm guns in 2 double-barreled turrets. The small turret that you can see at the front of the Yubari is actually a secondary battery. It's a single 120mm gun. They'll fire out to a range of 12.9 kilometers. They do around about 3,000 damage with a fully penetrating armor-piercing shell hit. They're not bad, but they're not great. What is great about the Yubari is its anti-aircraft armament. To put it in simple terms, the Yubari is the single best anti-aircraft escort in World of Warships at Tier 4. In fact, it's also the best anti-aircraft escort in World of Warships at Tier 5. There are only 2 ships in Tier 5 that have a better anti-aircraft armament than the Yubari, and that's the Congo-class battleship and the Independence-class carrier. And the Yubari is only Tier 4. The Yubari is positively bristling with anti-aircraft guns, as well as the 120mm secondary battery located in the foremost turret, which also doubles up as an anti-aircraft gun. This ship has 28 25mm anti-aircraft barrels in single, double and triple gun mountings. It's probably safe to say I'm a big fan of the Yubari, but then again, I am more than likely a little biased, because my one and only game in this ship gave me this result. That's over 250,000 credits, and over 4,500 experience earned, with 4 kills and not a single torpedo hit. That was all done with this ship's guns. You don't get that kind of result in a bad ship. So, the Gremyashki, the USS Sims, and the Yubari, the 3 ships currently available for a discount of 15% for a limited time only in the Wargaming Premium Shop for World of Warships. Now, they are still going to be on sale after the 3-day period is over, but not for a discount. You won't be able to get them at this price again, or at least not individually, because I have it on reliable authority that as of Tuesday next week you're going to be able to buy all 3 for a discounted price, which will be cheaper than the individual purchase cost if you'd bought all 3 separately. And remember, if you currently have access to the World of Warships closed beta, then as soon as you pay for these ships they will immediately be available to you in-game. If you do not currently have access to the closed beta, then these are pre-order bundles and the ships will become available to you once the game goes into open beta test. Couple of points to note before you make a decision as to which, if any, of these ships to buy. As they are premium ships, they work exactly the same way as premium tanks in World of Tanks and premium aircraft in World of Warplanes with regards to crew training. With the Yubari, for example, you can transfer any existing Japanese cruiser captain to the Yubari without having to pay for retraining costs, and use them in the Yubari in order to gain crew experience. And some of you out there may have been eyeing up the Gremyashki in particular, thinking you were going to steal a march on everybody else by using the Gremyashki to train up a fully trained Russian destroyer captain prior to the game going into open beta test. If that was your plan, I'm afraid that's just not going to be possible, because all crew progression is going to be wiped and reset when the game transfers from closed beta test into open beta test. Any premium ships that you've bought will of course not be touched and will still be available when the game open beta test begins, and any gold that you have purchased and spent will be refunded at the start of the open beta phase. Any existing gold credited to your account will of course be untouched. So hopefully you now have all the information you need to make an informed decision on which, if any, of these 3 premium ships to buy for yourself in World of Warships. If I had to pick just one, and I wouldn't like to have to pick just one because I love all 3 of them, but I'd go for the USS Sims. Get it, play it, love it, have fun with it before they nerf it, because this ship is amazing. Anyway, that's it for today. A little bonus video for you with regards to the 3 premium warships currently available in the Wargaming Premium Shop. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you found it useful and interesting, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.